Hey guys, Rowan Talks Football here, back again with another video on the channel, and yes, as you could probably tell, it's time to react to my Premier League predictions from the start of the season. I'm not looking forward to this. I didn't actually film this obviously due to the channel being so to start of the season, but I did make a prediction myself. I've just looked back at them. I've had some been okay, some of them have had shockers, but yeah, let's get into it. Once again guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for all the support on the channel recently. Let's get straight into the video and find out who. So in 20th place, as most people probably put, I actually did put Bournemouth. Now, the only reason I put Bournemouth to struggle, I think like most people did, is because I didn't think the squad had the depth to survive in the Premier League. I mean, the one they did well in the Championship and came up automatically last season. But I think everyone thought they were proven right when they sacked Scott Parker in August and they lost 9-0 to Liverpool, seeing that the squad depth wasn't good enough. But fair play to Bournemouth. They completely wrote everybody wrote them off. They completely done well and actually stayed up quite safely. I think with 4 wins at the end towards the end of the back end of the season, winning at Leicester and Tottenham, and also I think they managed to win over. I can't remember. They managed to win as well against somebody. I think it might have been like Southampton or someone. Yeah, but fair play. Stayed up comfortably. Well deserved. Finished 15th, and yeah. So yeah, Bournemouth in 20th. In 19th, I actually had Southampton, and they actually finished 20th. So I'm quite happy with that one, because I thought at the start of the season Southampton would struggle. I thought the squad depth wasn't good enough. That, and I think they won one game towards the back end of last season, in the last 10 or 11. Yeah, I knew this season was going to be a struggle. However, I did think they had the chance of staying up. But as soon as I knew Ralph Hasenhüttl left, I did think it was a bit of the end for Southampton, because they needed someone like that. You could see he's been working miracles with the club for a long time. Nathan Jones obviously came in, that didn't work. And then Ruben Selles towards the end just sort of was like the end of Southampton. And of course their 11-year stay is now over. Do I think they'll come back soon? They might do. It depends how they go on next season in the Championship. If they can recreate what Burnley done the season just gone to get back at the first time of asking, that would be good. But yeah, I did have Southampton in mind. In 18th, I had a shocker. I did put Brentford. I thought Brentford would struggle, because I know, but I should have seen this coming, because Thomas Frank is a fantastic manager. The only reason I thought they would struggle is because they lost Christian Eriksen, who was so key to them moving away from the drop zone last season. I thought that this season, with him going to Manchester United, they would struggle very, very much. They didn't. They finished up quite comfortably. They actually finished 9th, and I think they're about 2 points off Europe. Beating Manchester City twice. They also beat Tottenham, they beat Chelsea, they beat Manchester United, and yeah, they also beat Liverpool. So they got some wins, but the only team they didn't actually beat, I think out of the big six, the only team they didn't beat was Arsenal. So to do that, Brentford, well done. And of course, it's going to be harder than obviously losing Ivan Toney to this ban, but hopefully they can carry on their success and go on to next season. In 17th, I actually got this one spot on. I actually put Everton, and Everton did finish 17th. I did think they would struggle, and I did think they would get out of it, surviving only just. Now, the thing with Everton is they have been coming for years. Now, the reason I put them to struggle again is because I didn't see not much good transfer business in the summer. But again, you've got to remember with Everton, the trouble is they are survival specialists in the league. When they need the Goodison Cart Proud to get behind them, they do, and they've done it at the weekend. They got the win against Bournemouth to keep them up, at the expense of Leicester, obviously. We'll come out to see where they were later. But yeah, Everton 17th, and they're now going into their 70th consecutive year of top flight football. I think Arsenal are the only side that have played in the top flight longer than Everton. Do that, but the trouble is, I think that most Evertonians will agree, there are massive improvements needed at the club, because if it carries on like that next season, they could end up in drop. Got summer ahead. Sean Dyche has got his first full season in charge next year. I think he can sort it out. Hopefully, for their sake, they can move up the table. In 16th, I had Leeds, and they finished 19th. This was a bit of a debatable one. I thought Leeds would survive. I was wrong, because I thought last season when they beat Brentford on the last day, I thought they would build on that, like with Jesse Marsch. But the trouble is, it's just been a roller coaster roundabout circus there this season. They brought in a striker, Kevin Schiffer, I think his name is. We haven't even seen him kick a ball. That just sums up how bad Leeds have been. If he can't get in the team, what was the point in buying him, you know? But not even that, they've got the worst defence. I think I saw a stat. They've conceded 159 goals in the last 2 seasons in the Premier League, and it eventually caught up to them, and they deservedly got relegated. I mean, their fans could probably say they deserve to be in the Premier League, but when you're conceding goals like that, you can't do it. So yeah, I had Leeds to finish in 16th. In 15th, I had Nottingham Forest, and they actually finished 16th. So I was quite close to this one. I thought all the players they brought in, they would definitely survive, but they didn't. They struggled for the majority of the season. I think they went on a 10-match winless run up until they beat, I think it was at Southampton, I think, at home. I can't remember. There might have been a game before that they won. But towards the end of the season, they actually picked up some form. They got a good win against Arsenal, which obviously stopped them winning the league. And fair play to Steve Cooper. They stuck by him all season, and he kept them up. Do I think they need to improve next season? I think they will need a bit of improvement. If they can keep Dean Henderson as a goalkeeper, because I think he's definitely going to leave Manchester United this summer, that'd be good buy for them. I don't know if Keylor Navas would stay or not. He's a good goalkeeper as well. But yeah, fair play to Steve Cooper. Forest stayed up, and they started up quite comfortably. And if Tyro Awoniyi can keep his goal scoring record going, I could see him doing well again next season. So yeah, I had Forest to finish in on to 14th place, and in 14th I had Fulham, and they actually finished 10th. Now I got a lot of stick for this at the start of the season. People going, "Oh, Fulham won't stay up quite comfortably. It's going to be down again. They'll probably swap Leeds with Norwich." But actually, when I looked at it, I thought Fulham would stay up because they've got a good manager in Marco Silva, and the last 2 times when they came up before, they actually won it through the playoff. And whereas last season they actually won the Championship by scoring 100 plus goals, and I think they ended up finishing on 100 plus points. I thought they'd start quite comfortably. They brought in some good players in the summer, like of Willian and Bernd Leno. Obviously, João Paulinho has been the main signing for them. And they've added on to fringe players. And I thought if Mitrovic could get his goal-scoring boots on, they'd do quite well. And they, for the majority of the season, were in a talk to be in European football for next season. Sort of faded away towards the end of the season, but fair play Fulham. You got a very, very deserved safety, and hopefully you can build on it for next season. You don't get the second season syndrome. So yeah, I had them finish 14th. In 13th, I had Leicester, and they finished 18th. Now most people might think you didn't have Leicester that low in the table, but the truth is I did. I had them higher at the start. I was going to put them about 9th, but I remember last minute I changed it to 13th because Brendan Rodgers did not buy a single player up until the start of the season. I think he brought in Alex Smithies as a sub-goalkeeper, and then they only brought in Wout Faes in at the start of the season. I knew Leicester were going to struggle, but I didn't honestly thought with the players still in that squad, they weren't going to finish as badly as 18th and get relegated. I don't think nobody put Leicester to go down at the start of the season. If you did, fair play, because you got that spot on. But I thought they would struggle because, as he said, they didn't improve the squad enough. I mean, you got to remember Brendan Rodgers guided them to 2 fifth-place finishes in 2 seasons, and also won an FA Cup and a Community Shield with Leicester. Obviously, he was sacked in April, and I think they made the managerial change far too late for Dean Smith, who had about 8 games to save them. And if they had gone for it at Newcastle last week, it could have been a different story, but it didn't happen. And yeah, Leicester City have been relegated. I think there'll be a mass exodus of players there. I don't know if they'll come straight back up. If they get the right players in for Championship football, they could do a Burnley like they did. But they need a rebuild there, and it starts now. And in 12th place, I had Crystal Palace, and they finished 11th. Another good season for Palace, mid-table security. Obviously, did not look good. It started in late March when Vieira was sacked. I think they were about 3 points on the drop zone. Roy Hodgson come back in for another spell at Palace, got a lot of points, and ended up keeping them up quite comfortably in the end. Obviously, he probably won't be staying on, I think, for next season. They'll have to try and find a new manager. But well done to Crystal Palace. Next year, I think that's going to be 10-year, marks a 10-year anniversary in the top flight. And the way they're going, I can see them being up there for a good few years as yet. So yeah, well done to Palace. In 11th place, I had Wolves, and they finished 13th. I thought, because obviously last season under Bruno Lage, they were pushing for Europe for the majority of the season and then sort of slipped away and finished mid-table in the end. I thought it'd be another one of them seasons, but it was the complete opposite. They started the season off terribly. I know they obviously sacked Lager in October, brought in Julian Lopetegui for the World Cup, obviously break, but he didn't take charge until after the World Cup. And yeah, but they kept up first safe quite comfortably. But in the last couple of weeks, I've seen a 6-0 defeat at Brighton and 5-0 defeat at Arsenal. Means they've got a lot of defensive issues which they need to sort out in the summer. And I know they've got a lot of FFP problems at the moment, and Lopetegui was rumoured to be walking away from from Wolves this summer, but we shall see what happens there. But I wouldn't surprise me if they do not bring any players in over the summer. They could be strugglers next season. So yeah, fair play, we all stayed up and quite comfortably is in. In the 10th, I had Brighton. They actually finished 6th and qualified for Europe. I thought Brighton would have another good season. Obviously, this is when I'm making this prediction when Graham Potter was still in charge. Obviously, he then left and went to Chelsea. De Zerbi, though, has come in and took them to another level. They've been superb. Likes of Enciso, McAllister, Caicedo, even Danny Welbeck at times, Undav, Trossard when he was there before he went to Arsenal. Brighton are just a good team to watch. And even Jason Still in goal's been playing well the last couple of weeks. Lewis Dunk's been there for years. Brighton have got to be everybody's favourite second team, and my favourite second team to watch in the Premier League because the football they play under De Zerbi is a joy. Do I think they'll do well in Europe next season? I think they will. I think they'll get back in because I think they will sell McAllister and Caicedo this summer for very large fees, which means they can go out and buy players in the market at their price. So yeah, well under Brighton, European football, enjoy the Europa League next season. And yeah, I got this one a little bit wrong. In 9th place, I had Aston Villa and they finished 7th. Now, obviously, start of the season, as you know, Aston Villa had Steven Gerrard as their manager. He was sacked. I think they were 17th in the table. Unai Emery came in, and what a job Unai Emery done. He got them into the Europa Conference League, back into European football for the first time in 13 years. And to be fair, they deserved it because when he came in, they done very, very well. They beat the likes of Chelsea, and I think they did beat Newcastle as well 3-0 towards the end of the season. So yeah, I think they went on a 9-10 match unbeaten run as well after they lost to Arsenal at home. That's obviously not a bad thing to do, but yeah, let's just say Aston Villa next season in the Conference League, I would back them to be one of the favourites for the tournament. I don't know who's in it yet, but they would be up there, one of the favourites for me. So well done to Villa, and yeah, European football back at Villa Park. I'm sure the fans will be looking forward to. In 8th, I had Newcastle, and they actually finished 4th. Now, I think more people might think, why have you put them so low down? Well, I thought they would push for Europe and just miss out on it, but they didn't. They actually qualified for the best tournament, Champions League. Eddie Howe again doing a great job at Newcastle. I know they've had bought in the players like Guimaraes, obviously was bought in last season, and they also bought in the likes of Botman, Byrne, Pope. Pope was a great signing. Isaac was a great signing. But they've made themselves a rock at the back. Like the defence is arguably the best defence in the league. Kieran Trippier is a leader of that back line. He's one of the best right backs, if not the best right back in the division. And yeah, and they score goals. I mean, you look at the game against Spurs, they scored 5 after 20 minutes. Yeah, well, if Newcastle can strengthen from their team, they could do well in the Champions League next season. I don't know if the fixtures might catch up with them with a squad like that, but it's not even that. Howe's also brought the best out of Willock, Joelinton and Almiron. So yeah, Newcastle Champions League nights are back at St James's Park for the first time in 20 years, and I bet the fans can't wait. In 7th place, I had West Ham, and this was a bit of a poor one, this 14th. Now, I should have seen this coming, really, because West Ham did finish 7th last season, although at the end of the season they were on a bit of a bad run of form. Sort of slided out, because they were in that top 4 category for the majority of last season, then slipped away at the end, and started the season off terribly. I mean, the likes of Scamacca and, well, Paqueta at the start were not performing up to plan, but Paqueta has come out of his shell a bit in the last couple of weeks and looks a bit more of the money they paid for him. Kera, not been great, can get better obviously. But yeah, and obviously, fair play West Ham, they've got the Conference League final next week against Fiorentina, which they could win. So yeah, well on to West Ham and have a good season on the cards. If they ended up with a trophy, David Moyes has done a good season there, despite the leagues, when they finish in the league. If they could end with the Europa League Conference trophy, that's good enough, I think, for West Ham. They'd like to see a bit of trophy silverware. Yeah. In 6th, I had Manchester United, and they finished 3rd. I thought that'd be a bit of a tough start for Erik ten Hag, obviously coming in to replace Ralf Rangnick, and obviously the club in the shape with the Ronaldo situation. And obviously the start of the season as well, they lost at home to Brentford. At Brentford, and lost at home to Brighton. And everybody's thinking this is not the right thing. But to be fair, once they got rid of the problem, which I do think was Ronaldo, they started to climb the table and deservedly got Champions League football. Fair play, Erik ten Hag again, working on it. Magic also won him a trophy, of course. Yeah, won the League Cup in the FA Cup final this weekend. I think it's been a successful season for Manchester United, and I totally underestimated them because I thought it'd be another season of struggle. Also, obviously the biggest signing for them, obviously these predictions were made before Casemiro was signed. He's been an absolute brilliant signing for them in that midfield. He holds the ball very well for him. Luke Shaw has been insane at the back for him. Rashford's had the best season, I think, of his career. So yeah, and if they can get pieces together, they can probably make a title push next season, in my opinion. So yeah, well done to Manchester United. In 5th place, I had Chelsea, and they finished 12th. Now, you've got to remember, these predictions were made at the start of the season, and this was when Thomas Tuchel was in charge. I did think they would miss out on the top 4, purely because I didn't think the signings they made were good, and at the back end of last season, they faded away a bit. Obviously, Tuchel was sacked, brought in Potter. They got worse under Potter, then got worse under Lampard as well, and obviously finished 12th. They need a massive clear out in the summer, and I know, obviously, Pochettino is set to be appointed soon. They need to get rid of the likes of Aubameyang, who's not there. Mudryk needs to start scoring, or he'll be out the door. There's Loftus-Cheek, Mason Mount, I don't think wants to be there. There's a lot of troubles in that team. I think if they get it right next season, they can be pushing for European football. But yeah, I had them to finish 5th. Into 4th, I had Arsenal, and they actually finished 2nd. Now, majority of predictions, I don't think actually put Arsenal to finish in the top 4. But this season, they were brilliant. They started that season off so well. They were flying at the start. They were top for ages. I think they were top for nearly 250 days. I know they fell away towards the end of the season, and people can class it as a term of bottling. I don't see it as bottling. I see it as the fact that Manchester City are just too good. You can't underestimate them. When they get into their winning streak, you just can't do anything against it. Arsenal will learn from this experience because they just didn't have the squad depth to get through it. They looked like it did for most of the season, but as soon as William Saliba got injured at the back, that killed the season because they couldn't replace the calibre of player he is. But they are heading in the right direction. They got Champions League football back for the first time in 7 years. That's good for them. That'll get them a bit more revenue into the bank. And if they can get the likes of Declan Rice, who have been linked with João Cancelo, players will be attractive to them because obviously they got the Champions League thing to play at. Next season, they could push for the title again. I don't like how the pundits are literally ruling them out straight away. But if they can get the players right next summer, they will definitely be in the title race again next season. Nobody predicted that at the start of the season. I think they could be there next year. Players right next summer, they will definitely be in the title race again next season. Nobody predicted that at the start of the season. I think they could be there next year. In 3rd place, and I've had a bit of a shocker here, was Tottenham, and they actually finished 8th. Now, I know people are going to think, why are Tottenham so high? Well, because I looked at the back end of last season when they went on a winning run towards the end and knocked Arsenal out of the top 4, finished 4th, got Champions League football. Conte at the helm, what could have gone wrong? Well, there was a lot of problems that had gone wrong. If they'd not taken 23 points from their first 10 games, they would have been in a similar situation to Chelsea. And I don't think they obviously did. Conte publicly criticised the players when they drew 3-3 with Southampton. I think that was his way of saying, I want out. He left, Stellini took over. He was basically the same. He got sacked. Ryan Mason ended the season. And they ended the season quite well with a 4-1 win at Leeds, but no European football. I don't know if Tottenham would be an attractive club to teams with no European football, but it is what it is. And yeah, I think next season for Spurs, they just need to. Obviously, the big question is will Harry Kane stay? And they need to. If he doesn't, they're going to have to try and replace him because obviously they struggled when they lost Gareth Bale years ago. When they had him, he was a great player. When they obviously lost him to Real Madrid, they struggled to replace him and they slipped down the table. However, obviously they still need to sort the managerial situation out. A lot of people turning that job down, which is a bit, but that just shows you what Tottenham's like. Anyway, yeah. So I had them to finish 3rd. They actually finished 8th. On to 2nd, I had Liverpool, and they finished 5th. Now, I don't think many people saw this coming at the start of the season, considering on the back end of last season, they had the quadruple. They were going for the quadruple, winning everything. They won the League Cup and the FA Cup. They'd done very well. They strengthened, but they lost Sadio Mane, which was a key factor. Replaced him with Darwin Núñez, who has done okay in his first season, to be fair to him, I'll be honest here. Started off slow, got a few goals, yeah. Obviously, they had Luis Diaz, who's been injured. They've had a lot of injury problems, but this is a Liverpool side that won the league 3 years ago, and it's a similar team. But the trouble is, and I kept saying this all season, it's an ageing squad. A lot of them players are past their prime, and they need to sort it out. If they can get McAllister in that midfield, that'd be better, because the midfield of Fabinho, Henderson, and Harvey Elliott, it just doesn't work, because Fabinho and Henderson are two similar players to each other. I think if they get the right players in next season, they will be pushing for that title again. They'll be back in the title race. And to be fair, if you look at the form towards the back end of the season where they won 7 in a row, actually the form from last year when they started to move Alexander-Arnold into that midfield / right back role worked a bit better. But they do need to improve this squad because this squad is getting past it. It's all right saying it's the same squad that has been competing for the last 3 or 4 years before, but as I said, it caught up with them this season and they've missed out. They missed out on Champions League football. In fact, I don't think they spent a week in the top 4 this season. For a club like Liverpool, who obviously have been the elite in the Premier League of Manchester City, that's not great. So yeah, I had them finish second, they finished 5th. And I had Manchester City to win the league at the start of the season, and they won it. So that's another spot-on prediction. I had 2, I think. The other one was Everton. Yeah, Man City are just unstoppable, aren't they? That's why I put them top. Pep's a great manager. Haaland coming in as well, obviously. And it did look like it was going to be wrong for most of the season because a lot of people were criticising them, saying, especially after they lost 1 to Tottenham, saying that Haaland doesn't suit the style of football. But since then, they've done that, and they're now on the verge of the treble. Obviously, you've got the FA Cup this weekend, the Champions League final next weekend. So yeah, it's going to be a weird one. Do I think Man City will do the treble? I would back them to, yes. The only one I think they may beat them will be the FA Cup final, but I do think they'll beat Inter in the Champions League final. But let me know down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this. I know it's a long video, but yeah, that's my Premier League predictions, all done and dusted. I've gone through them all. Thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. I'm Rowan. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.